Have you ever stopped and really considered that some things you absolutely know might actually be, well, closer to beliefs?
Or maybe even thought about how your brain could be subtly tricking you, making you think you're well-informed when maybe you're missing something.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Our mission today is to unpack this really fascinating world of how we get and, hold on to knowledge.
And why it's often much more complex, much more fluid than we tend to imagine.
Yeah, we're going to explore some of those surprising mental shortcuts our brains take.
And we'll dig into the whole philosophical quest to define what knowing even means.
And then we'll look at scientific truth, how dynamic and, well, ever-evolving it actually is.
Right. It's not always as fixed as people think.
So this deep dive pulls from a whole stack of sources: psychology, philosophy, the very nature of how science works.
Hopefully it'll give you a clearer map for navigating this sometimes pretty surprising landscape of what it means to be truly informed.
Okay, let's start unpacking this idea, how our own minds can sometimes, create blind spots in our understanding.
We're talking about some fundamental psychological things here, things that really shape our reality.
First up then, cognitive dissonance.
Precisely. Cognitive dissonance. It's that uncomfortable mental feeling like a tug of war inside.
When you hold two ideas that just don't fit together.
Exactly. Or when what you do doesn't line up with what you say you believe.
Okay, like the classic example, the smoker.
The smoker, right.
Yeah.
Knows smoking causes cancer. That's belief one. But keeps smoking, that's the action. They clash.
And that creates this internal tension, this discomfort.
A real discomfort. And our brains hate that feeling.
So what happens? How do we deal with it?
Well, this is the fascinating part. Our minds work hard to reduce that tension. You might change your behavior, actually quit smoking.
Which is often the hardest one.
Definitely. Or you adjust your beliefs. Maybe downplay the risks.
Right, like saying, oh, I only smoke occasionally, or it helps me relax, it's worth it.
Or even start questioning the research itself. Anything to make the conflict go away.
It's like our brains are actively trying to, well, re-engineer reality a bit to feel consistent.
It's a powerful drive, often subconscious. We want internal consistency, even if it means, bending the truth slightly.
Does that make it almost impossible then to face uncomfortable truths if our brains are so good at dodging them?
That's a huge challenge, absolutely. And what's really striking is how universal this is. It's not just about big things like smoking.
It's everyday stuff too.
Constantly. Think about characters we watch, like 11 from Stranger Things.
Okay, yeah. How does that fit?
Well, she desperately wants a normal life, right? But she has these dangerous powers that put everyone at risk. Big conflict there.
So the dissonance is wanting normalcy versus having these powers.
Exactly. And how does she cope? She justifies the risks by focusing on being a protector, on those deep bonds she has with her friends. It makes the danger feel necessary, acceptable.
Okay. Or Rue from Euphoria.
Oh, definitely. Battling addiction but wanting recovery. Huge conflict.
So she rationalizes using drugs.
Right. Tells herself it helps her cope with trauma, or convinces herself she can quit anytime. It's the dissonance driving those justifications, making it so hard to break free.
It's powerful stuff. I'm thinking Cathy Heron in Mean Girls too.
Perfect example. Starts out kind, then gets manipulative.
And justifies it.
As necessary for social survival in that high school jungle. The dissonance between her original values and her actions gets resolved by changing her belief about what's necessary.
And Walter White.
Yeah.
Breaking Bad, classic case.
Absolutely. Sees himself as a good guy, but does terrible things.
Rationalizes it all for his family's financial future.
Exactly. Necessary sacrifices. Even Michael Scott in The Office. Michael Scott.
Yeah, he genuinely believes he's a great boss.
Right.
But he's often insensitive.
So he rationalizes his blunders.
As his unique way of showing care, it smooths over the conflict between his self-image and his actions. It's just fundamentally human.
These examples really drive it home. And the research behind this, there are some classic experiments, aren't there? Oh, absolutely. They really show how it works, like forced compliance behavior.
That's when you're pressured to act against your beliefs.
Right. And the key is why you do it. There's a famous study, Festinger and Carl Smith, 1959.
What'd they do?
They had people do a really, really boring task. Then they asked them to lie to the next participant and say it was actually fun.
Okay.
Now, some were paid $20 to lie, a decent amount back then. Others were paid only $1.
$1. That's hardly anything.
Exactly. And here's the kicker. The people paid only $1 later rated the boring task as significantly more enjoyable than those paid $20.
Wait, the ones paid less liked it more. Why?
Cognitive dissonance. The $20 group had a clear external reason to lie the money, no conflict. But the $1 group, well, a dollar wasn't really enough justification to lie. So to reduce the dissonance of, I lied for almost nothing, their minds changed their attitude about the task. They convinced themselves it was actually kind of fun.
Wow. So they changed their internal belief because the external reason wasn't strong enough.
Precisely. Insufficient justification. Then there's effort justification.
Right. Putting a ton of effort into something.
And maybe the outcome is disappointing. Your mind works to convince you it was worthwhile anyway, so you don't feel like your effort was wasted.
Is there a study for that too?
Yep, Aronson and Mills, 1959 again. They had women go through different initiation processes to join a discussion group. Some had a really severe, embarrassing initiation, others had a mild one, or none.
Okay. And the discussion group?
Turned out to be incredibly dull and boring.
Oh, no.
But the women who went through the severe initiation rated the dull discussion and the group itself much more highly than the others.
Because they'd suffered for it, basically.
They'd put in so much effort, experienced discomfort. To justify that effort, they convinced themselves the group must be valuable.
That explains a lot about certain groups or clubs.
It certainly can. And even simple decision-making triggers it. Brem's study in 1956 showed this.
How so?
If you have to choose between two things you, like say, two appliances, you feel a bit of dissonance after you choose, wondering if you picked the wrong one.
That what-if feeling.
Exactly. So what do? We tend to rate the item we chose even higher than before, and the one we rejected lower. It's called spreading of alternatives.
It's your brain going, phew, yeah, definitely made the right call.
Totally. It just solidifies the choice and reduces that nagging doubt. It also kicks in strongly when new information comes along that challenges a belief we hold really deeply.
Fascinating how our minds work to keep things feeling consistent, even if it means tweaking our perceptions.
It's a powerful, often invisible force.
And you mentioned it often works with another big mental tendency, confirmation bias.
Yes, they're like partners in crime sometimes. Cognitive dissonance might make you want to believe something, and confirmation bias helps you find the evidence for it.
So confirmation bias is basically seeing what we want to see.
Pretty much. It's our tendency to favor information that confirms what we already believe or suspect.
And it affects everything. How we look for info, how we interpret it.
How we remember it even. If you strongly support, say, a political candidate, you'll naturally seek out positive news about them.
And if you see neutral news,
you'll likely interpret it in a way that favors them. And negative news, you'll probably dismiss it, find flaws in it, or forget it more easily. It's almost automatic.
how can you spot this in action? In yourself or others?
Well, signs include things like only looking for confirming evidence, relying heavily on stereotypes, maybe selectively remembering things that fit your narrative.
Or having a really strong emotional reaction when you do find confirming info, like, see, I knew it.
Exactly. Think about people reading the same news story about a controversial topic, like gun control.
Right.
Someone strongly for it and someone strongly against it can read the exact same article.
And come away totally convinced it supports their side.
Precisely. They focus on different parts, interpret phrases differently, find the bits that confirm what they already thought. It's like they read two different stories.
And it shapes our social lives, too, right? Choosing friends who agree with us.
Absolutely. We naturally gravitate towards people who share our beliefs and values, which feels good, but it can lead to those echo chambers or filter bubbles.
Where you mostly just hear your own views reflected back at you.
Yeah, reinforcing the bias. And in decision-making, it can be genuinely risky. Ignoring warning signs about an investment because you're already convinced it's a winner, for example.
Or maybe not even looking for better job opportunities because you're convinced your current situation is the best you can do.
Right. It limits your options because you're only looking for confirmation of your existing state.
So, while it might make us feel more confident in our beliefs,
it often stops us from looking at things objectively. It can lead to poor choices, increased polarization between groups, and just to give us a really narrow view of reality.
it's a real mental trap. Which brings us back to that big question. If our minds are wired like this, avoiding discomfort, seeking confirmation, how on earth can we truly know anything?
That is. Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And it takes us right into the heart of philosophy, specifically epistemology.
Epistemology, the study of knowledge itself.
Right. It grapples with these huge questions. What is knowledge, fundamentally? How do we get it? Can we ever be truly certain? Are there limits?
And when philosophers talk about knowledge here, they usually mean a specific kind, right? Not like knowing how to ride a bike.
Exactly. We distinguish between, say, procedural knowledge that know how, like riding a bike, and acquaintance knowledge, like knowing a person or a city.
But epistemology mostly focuses on
Propositional knowledge, knowing that something is the case, like knowing that Paris is the capital of France, or knowing that water boils at 100 degrees Celsius. That's the target.
Okay. So what was the traditional definition? How did philosophers try to pin down this knowing that?
For a very, very long time, the dominant view was that knowledge is justified true belief, often called JTB.
Justified true belief. Okay, break that down.
Sure. 3 parts. First, belief. You have to actually believe the proposition. You can't know Paris is the capital of France if you don't believe it.
Makes sense. Second,
Truth. The proposition has to actually be true. You can't know the Earth is flat because, well, it isn't. Knowledge has to connect with reality.
okay, belief and truth. Seems straightforward. What's the third part?
Justification. This is the crucial one. It's not enough to have a true belief just by luck or a random guess. You need to have good reasons or evidence for your belief. You need to arrive at it in the right way.
So if I guess the winning lottery numbers, my belief is true, but I didn't know them beforehand because I had no justification, just luck.
Exactly. Justification is about having adequate grounds for your belief. And this definition usually includes fallibilism, the idea that your justification doesn't have to be absolutely perfect or guarantee truth. It just has to be good enough. You can know something even if it's theoretically possible you could be wrong.
Right. So justified true belief, truth, justification. Seems pretty solid. Covered all the bases, you'd think.
You would think. It was the standard view for centuries. Philosophers felt pretty good about it. Like, okay, we've basically defined knowledge.
There's always a but in philosophy, isn't there?
Pretty much. And this but was a big one. In 1963, a philosopher named Edmund Gettier published a very short, very famous paper.
And it caused problems for JTV.
It completely blew it up.
Oh.
Gettier showed with some clever examples that you could have a justified true belief, but still intuitively not have knowledge.
How? What kind of examples?
Well, the scenarios, now called Gettier cases, involve situations where the justification is solid, the belief happens to be true, but the link between the justification and the truth is basically just luck.
Okay, give me one, like that clock example.
The stopped clock is a perfect Gettier-style example. Let's run through it again. You walk past a clock tower on campus. You look up, it says 11.56.
Yeah, okay.
You form the belief the time is 11.56. Now, unknown to you, the clock actually stopped exactly 24 hours ago at 11.56. But by sheer coincidence, you happen to be looking at it at the actual time of 11:56 a.m.
So my belief, it's 11.56, is true.
Yep. And it's justified, right? You looked at a clock. You usually trust clocks on campus. You have no reason to think this one's broken.
Belief, truth, justification. All 3 boxes ticked. JTB says, I know the time.
JTB says you know it, but do you? It feels wrong, doesn't it?
Yeah, because if I had walked past a minute earlier or later, I'd have formed a false belief based on the same justification. It was just pure luck. My belief was true right then.
Precisely. Your justification, looking at the clock, didn't properly connect to the fact that made your belief true, the actual time. The connection was accidental.
So Gettier showed JPB isn't enough. Having a justified true belief doesn't guarantee knowledge if luck plays that kind of role.
Exactly. It sent shockwaves through epistemology. If JTB isn't the definition of knowledge, then what is? What extra ingredient do we need?
What did philosophers propose then? How did they try to fix JTB?
Well, lots of attempts. One early idea was adding a no false beliefs condition. Maybe your justification shouldn't rely on any false assumptions?
Like in the clock case, I was implicitly assuming the clock is working, which was false.
Right. But tweaking the example showed this didn't quite solve all Gettier cases. Another approach is the no defeaters condition.
Defeaters.
Yeah, a defeater is like a hidden fact that, if you knew it, would undermine your justification. So your belief is knowledge if it's justified, true, and D, there are no relevant defeaters out there.
So if I had known the clock was stopped, that knowledge would defeat my justification for believing the time it showed.
Exactly. Many philosophers think this no defeaters idea, or something like it, is a promising route. Others focused on causal accounts, trying to establish a proper causal link between the fact and your belief.
It sounded like defining justification itself became the real puzzle.
Absolutely. What counts as good enough justification? And this led to a major split in thinking. Internalism versus externalism.
Okay, internalism first. What's the core idea there?
Internalism says that justification depends only on factors that are internal to your mind. things you can access through reflection alone, like your other beliefs, your sensory experiences, the logical connections between them.
So it's all about what's going on inside your head.
Right, but internalism faces a big challenge, the regress problem.
We mentioned this briefly. If every belief needs another belief to justify it.
Where does it end? You either get an infinite chain of justifications, which seems impossible for humans,
Or you end up reasoning in a circle. Belief A justifies B, B justifies C, and C justifies A.
which doesn't seem to provide real grounding. Or you have to stop somewhere with foundational beliefs that don't need further justification.
That sounds like foundationalism.
Exactly. Foundationalism is one internalist solution. It says some beliefs are basic or self-justified, like I seem to be seeing red, or simple logical truths, and they form the foundation upon which other beliefs are built through reasoning.
Okay, what's the other internalist approach?
Coherentism. It rejects the foundation idea. Instead, it says beliefs are justified by how well they fit together, how much they mutually support each other within your overall system of beliefs, like a web.
So justification isn't linear. It's about the whole system being coherent.
Right. The more interconnected and consistent your beliefs are, the more justified they are.
But couldn't you have a perfectly coherent set of beliefs that's completely wrong? Like a detailed fantasy novel. It's coherent, but not connected to reality.
That's the main criticism of coherentism, the isolation objection. A perfectly coherent system could be floating free from the world. Which leads us to the other major camp.
Externalism, which looks
Well,
outside the mind.
Yes. Externalism says justification depends, at least partly, on factors external to your mind, factors that connect your belief to the actual world.
How does that work?
The most popular form is reliabilism. It says, quite simply, that a belief is justified if it's produced by a reliable cognitive process.
A reliable process, meaning one that usually produces true beliefs.
Exactly. Normal vision in good lighting is generally reliable for telling colors. Logical deduction is reliable. Wishful thinking is not.
So if my belief comes from a reliable source, it's justified, even if I can't internally explain exactly why it's reliable.
That's the core idea. It nicely avoids the regress problem and connects justification to truth conduciveness.
It sounds pretty neat. Are there problems with reliabilism?
There are challenges. One is the generality problem.
Yeah.
How broadly or narrowly do we define the process? Seeing red things in this light. The reliability changes depending on how you describe it.
Tricky.
And then there's a famous counterexample, Mr. Truetemp.
Mr. Truetemp. Okay.
Imagine someone secretly implants a device in Mr. Truetemp's head that constantly and very accurately feeds him the ambient temperature, forming beliefs like, it's 68 degrees.
So his temperature beliefs are produced by a perfectly reliable process.
Yep. Reliabilism would say his beliefs are justified. But Mr. Truetemp has no idea why he has these beliefs. He doesn't know about the implant. He just finds himself thinking, it's 68 degrees.
Does he really know the temperature if he has no clue where the belief came from?
It seems weird to say he knows it, right? He's just getting these accurate beliefs magically. This suggests that maybe just being reliable isn't enough. Maybe some internal awareness or understanding of the source is also needed for justification, or at least for what we intuitively call knowledge.
Wow, okay, so nailing down knowledge and justification is way more complicated than it looks. Internal, external, reliable processes, defeaters.
It's a deep, deep rabbit hole. But for practical purposes, we generally rely on our main sources of knowledge: perception, our senses, reason and intuition, memory and testimony, what others tell us.
Right, okay, so that's the individual mind grappling with knowing. What about our collective effort, especially science? We tend to think of science as the gold standard for reliable knowledge, marching towards solid facts. Is that accurate?
Well, yes and no. Science is incredibly powerful, our best tool for understanding the physical world. But it's not about finding absolute, unchanging, final truths.
That's more provisional.
Exactly. Accepted scientific theories are the best explanations we have right now, based on all the available evidence, rigorously tested. But they are always, always open to being refined, modified, or even in some cases, replaced if new evidence comes along that fundamentally contradicts them.
So it's a work in progress.
A constant work in progress. Which brings us to Thomas Kuhn and his idea of paradigm shifts.
Paradigm shifts, that sounds
A
important.
hugely influential idea. Kuhn argued that science doesn't always progress smoothly, just adding more facts. Sometimes it undergoes revolutions, fundamental changes in the basic concepts, methods, and assumptions of a whole field.
A complete change in how scientists see the world.
Pretty much. He described it in stages. First, you have normal science. That's when a field operates under a dominant paradigm, a shared framework of theories and practices. Scientists mostly work within that paradigm, solving puzzles it defines.
Okay, business as usual for science.
Right, but inevitably, they encounter anomalies, results, or observations that the current paradigm just can't explain properly.
Things that don't fit the mold.
Exactly. If enough anomalies pile up, or if one is particularly jarring, it can lead to a crisis.
The paradigm starts to look shaky.
Right. And this crisis prompts what Kuhn called extraordinary research. Scientists start questioning the fundamental assumptions, exploring alternative ideas, thinking outside the box.
Looking for a new way forward.
And sometimes, out of this chaos, a new paradigm emerges. A new theory, a new way of looking at things that can explain the anomalies.
But the old guy doesn't just roll over, right?
Not usually. Kuhn famously said, a new scientific truth often triumphs not by convincing its opponents, but because its opponents eventually die, and a new generation grows up accustomed to the new ideas. The new paradigm gains traction because it solves problems better, or seems more elegant, or opens up new research avenues.
And once it takes hold,
That's the aftermath. The new paradigm becomes the new normal science. Textbooks get rewritten, teaching changes, and the revolution becomes the established view, until, perhaps, new anomalies appear.
it really shows science isn't just piling up facts. It's about the frameworks we use to understand those facts.
Absolutely. Think about the shift from believing the Earth was the center of the universe, the Ptolemaic system,
Yeah.
to the Copernican view, with the sun at the center. That wasn't just adding a fact, it changed everything.
Completely reshaped astronomy and our place in the cosmos. Or think about the shift from Aristotle's physics to Newton's laws of motion and gravity.
Or in chemistry, getting rid of phlogiston and understanding combustion through oxygen.
Right. Or in medicine, the huge shift from blaming diseases on bad air or miasmas to understanding germ theory.
And more recently, Einstein's relativity modifying Newton's gravity.
Yep. Or the acceptance of plate tectonics in geology that took a surprisingly long time. Or the Big Bang Theory replacing the steady state model in cosmology. These weren't just small tweaks. They were fundamental reorganizations of entire fields.
This really highlights that common confusion point. When people say, oh, evolution is only a theory, or climate change is just a theory. Yes. That misunderstands what theory means in science. It's not like a casual guess or hypothesis.
And in science, a theory is what?
It's a really well-substantiated explanation for a whole set of observations. It's built on a massive amount of evidence confirmed through testing and experimentation. It's comprehensive, predictive, and importantly, falsifiable.
Falsifiable meaning there's some conceivable observation that could prove it wrong.
Exactly. It makes testable predictions. If those predictions consistently fail, the theory is in trouble. So calling something a scientific theory is actually giving it high praise. It's the strongest level of understanding we have in science.
And usually, new knowledge builds on old theories, right? It doesn't just throw them out entirely.
Mostly, yes. Refinement is more common than complete rejection. Newtonian physics didn't become wrong when Einstein came along. It's still incredibly accurate and useful for everyday speeds and gravity.
It gets us to the moon.
Right. Einstein's theories just provide a more complete picture that also works in extreme situations, very high speeds, very strong gravity, where Newton's laws break down. It's an expansion, a refinement.
So what's the ultimate test then? If a theory is proposed, how does it become widely accepted as scientific knowledge?
The real gold standard is replication. Can other independent scientists using the same methods get the same results?
Not just one lab finding something interesting.
No. Peer review before publication is an important filter, but it's not foolproof. It's when multiple studies by different teams all point to the same conclusion, that's when confidence really builds. Science is fundamentally collaborative and self-correcting over time.
It's about building more accurate, more predictive models, always open to revision.
That's the ideal. But there are challenges, of course.
Like how the media reports on science.
Yeah, sometimes a single preliminary study gets blown out of proportion, creating a false sense of controversy or certainty.
Or maybe the difference between fields, like the level of certainty you can get in physics versus, say, psychology.
True. The so-called hard sciences often deal with systems that are easier to isolate and measure precisely than the soft sciences dealing with complex human behavior or societies. The kind of knowledge and the degree of certainty might differ.
And then there's the danger of people misusing the fact that science is tentative.
Absolutely. Pointing to the inherent uncertainty or the existence of unanswered questions to dismiss well-established findings, like with climate change or vaccines, or to promote completely unscientific ideas like a flat Earth. It's twisting the self-correcting nature of science into a weapon against it.
It's a misunderstanding, or maybe a misuse, of how scientific knowledge actually develops. Even established fields can have bumps, like you said, with plate tectonics being accepted late.
It reminds us that science is ultimately a human activity with all the complexities that entails.
Okay, so we've got our biased minds, these deep philosophical questions about knowing, and this evolving picture of scientific truth. It seems like certainty is hard to come by.
It really is.
So what does this mean for us, for you, listening? How do you navigate all this? Is the answer just question everything?
In a way, yes, but not out of cynicism, out of curiosity. Think about the explorers like Magellan. People knew the world was flat. He questioned it.
And discovered new worlds, literally.
Exactly. Questioning assumptions, even deeply held ones, is what opens up new possibilities, new understandings. It breaks us free from stagnation.
And today, with information overload, filter bubbles, biased media, questioning seems more critical than ever.
It's essential for survival, intellectually speaking. Algorithms are designed to feed you more of what you already like, what you already believe. If you don't actively question and seek out different perspectives, you can get stuck in a very narrow, very polarized version of reality.
So questioning leads to discernment. Is that the skill we need?
Discernment is crucial. It's the ability to sift through information, to separate fact from fiction, evidence from opinion, reliable sources from unreliable ones. And also, importantly, to check in with your own inner sense of things, your intuition, rather than just blindly accepting everything you're told.
It's not just rejecting things. It's about careful judgment, healthy curiosity.
Precisely. Not cynicism, but critical thinking combined with intuition.
So how do you cultivate that? How do you actually start questioning things constructively?
A simple place to start is just asking why. Why do I believe this? Where did this belief come from? Who benefits from me believing this? Does it actually serve me?
Turning the lens inward on your own beliefs.
Yes. And then actively look for different viewpoints. Make a conscious effort to read, watch, or listen to perspectives that challenge your own, even if they make you uncomfortable. You don't have to agree, but understand where they're coming from.
Break out of the echo chamber deliberately.
Deliberately, and also cultivate that inner listening. Spend some quiet time, reflection, meditation, even just a walk in nature to tune out the external noise and connect with your own sense of clarity, your gut feeling, what truly resonates as authentic for you.
And maybe be okay with not knowing everything.
Absolutely. Embrace uncertainty. Accept that you won't always have neat, tidy answers. Be willing to live in the questions sometimes, to explore the unknown without needing immediate resolution. That's often where the most profound learning happens.
It sounds like this mindset, curiosity, discernment, embracing uncertainty isn't just for figuring things out intellectually.
No, I think it's much bigger than that. On a collective level, if more of us could adopt this approach, maybe we could move beyond some of the rigid divisions and conflicts we see.
Towards more understanding, more compassion.
Exactly. By questioning our own certainties and genuinely trying to understand other perspectives, maybe we can find more common ground, build more bridges. It feels essential, really.
Wow, what a journey today. From the quirks of our own minds, like cognitive dissonance and confirmation bias,
through the deep philosophical maze of trying to define knowledge with JTB and Gettier.
all the way to understanding science not as fixed facts, but as this dynamic, evolving process of paradigm shifts and self-correction.
It really underscores that knowing isn't some static endpoint we arrive at.
It's an ongoing process, isn't it?
Yeah.
A constant refining of our understanding, our maps of reality.
Always building, questioning, rebuilding, hopefully getting closer to more accurate, more useful models of the world.
So for everyone listening, what's the final takeaway? What should you be mulling over after this deep dive?
Well, maybe consider this.
If the smartest people throughout history have constantly had to revise, update, even completely overturn things they once held as absolute truths,
What deeply held knowledge, what certainty in your own life might you be ready to re-examine today?
what assumptions could you question? What new possibilities might open up if you truly embraced the productive uncertainty, the adventure of genuine inquiry?